Today on the Chat and Chew Show.
What's up? But if it's a person you've only known for, let's say, 3 months, you're still getting to know that person. You don't know all their quirks, their tics, their stress, their drama, their childhood issues. There's a whole laundry list of stuff that you have to sift through.
Hey, it's Carla, aka Home Cook K, and today I'm back in my humble kitchen with a recipe that gets mixed reviews in my household, but I'm a fan, so I'm sharing it here.
All right, well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Chat and Chew Show. I'm Betty.
And I'm Roxanne.
And we got a special guest with us today, but hold on, we're gonna introduce her in a second. This show is designed to empower you to do relationships better. And we say all the time that everybody is in a relationship, not just a romantic relationship. You're in your mother, your auntie, your uncle, we've been saying Grubhub driver, Amazon truck deliverer, and especially if you are a Zoom teacher during this time, oh my gosh, God bless you, God bless you. And oftentimes we find that navigating some of these relationships can be difficult.
A good friend celebrates our wins with us and provides a shoulder to lean on when we're down. But what happens when two friends grow apart? On this episode of the Chat and Chew Show, certified coach Donecia Norwood-Smith helps us navigate the tough seasons of friendship. Coach Donecia is passionate about cultivating ideas and making them a reality. With over 20 years of experience in advising and coaching in various arenas including secondary and higher education, fitness, and nutrition, her desire is to see people live life purposefully and thrive in mind, body, and soul. Donecia is a wife, mother of 2, and co-owner of Influential LLC, a speaking, coaching, and consulting company she co-owns with her husband, Reverend Dr. Ephraim Smith. Get ready to take notes for this session of Ask the Coach.
All right. So today we are super excited that you are with us because we have our special guest with us, and that is Donecia Norwood-Smith. And this is our favorite episode. And it is Ask the Coach.
I never know if I should say it slow or faster.
I know it's like, Ask the Coach. It's good. Donecia, how you doing?
You know, I am well. Everything is great out here in the sunny California way. We are able to see the sky for the first time in like 3.5 weeks.
That's right. I forgot all the fires.
Yes, it's a great day. When I woke up and I looked at the weather app and it said air quality was good, I was like, hey, now we can go out there and get our walk on finally. Okay.
Right.
Wow.
Yes. So we are doing well today. Good. How are you ladies?
Doing pretty good. I won't complain. How about that?
I know that's right.
How about you, Roxy?
Yeah, doing well. I'm same here. I'm like, before I start, let me just count my blessings. Because I mean, you think about that's something that we take for granted, air quality, and it's like until something as major as that happens, and you're like, oh, yeah, that could be an issue. So
yeah, that's true. It's true. Good. Well, we have some questions, Donecia. We want to Coach Donecia that we want to ask you and to get your feedback. Sometimes, again, you can be in a relationship and you've tried every single thing, or you're not clear about, what next steps should I take? My relationship is going good. What should I do to improve it? My relationship isn't going good. What should I do to try to make it better? So that's why I love these episodes. Roxanne and I always joke and say, whenever we do Ask the Coach, we need to take notes ourselves because it is so, so good. So with that, Roxanne is going to ask the first question.
Sure. And just for our audience, this topic is something that came up a lot in our comments. So we wanted to just address the topic of friendships and relationships. So to get started, the first question is, as we go through different transitions in our lives, for example, going from single to married or becoming a parent, how do you know if you should fight to maintain your friend circle or accept the fact that you've outgrown them?
Oh, child. Yes, that's a good question. I had that question here recently with a client, as a matter of fact, like 3 weeks ago. And, she was like, okay, I think I'm at a place now where the things that I want to do my friends don't necessarily want to do. So does that mean that they're boring? Does that mean that, I've outgrown them? Or even in topic of conversation, some topics that her friends didn't even want to broach the subject. And these people have been together in relationship for over 15 years. So yes, at what point do you outgrow your friendship circle? Sometimes that happens, or it appears to happen, when one or a couple of people in the group advance in education, take on a new job, move to a different place. These instances can change the dynamics of your conversation quite rapidly. Because at first you're like, oh, you moved away. How are things going? What's new? What are you doing for fun? Who are you meeting? And as you advance and meet different people groups in your new environment, it can change the dynamics of your old people groups. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've outgrown them. It just means that by proximity, you're doing different things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a sign of outgrowing could be that there's a different level of maturity. For example, you might be at a place where the things that your friends do are a little bit more immature than where you are at this point in your life. For example, they might just want to go kick it and party every single night like they did when you were 25 and you now 55. Sometimes you can't do the things you did when you're at 55 that you do at 25, whether you're married or single. It just happens. Like certain circumstances will change the dynamics of what you are able to do. Sometimes your health may change and you might have to be like, look, I need to go to bed at 8 o'clock. Okay. Y'all staying up to 2, 3 in the morning. I gotta go to bed. I need my rest. I'm trying to preserve the wrinkles. I'm just kidding. But y'all understand what I'm trying to say. So there's certain situations in our lives that will shift our focus, shift our perspective, shift our level of awareness, where it may appear that we're outgrowing our friendship circles. Well, it just means that we're just learning things at a different rate. These are still the same people that we absolutely love and adore, but we might have to take a break from them because it exhausts our energy, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's good. That's good. What if it feels like, especially when you become an adult, it's more difficult to have friends and things like, 'cause as a kid, you would be like, hey, you want to be my friend? Yeah, let's be friends. Let's go get on let's go swing. But as an adult, maintaining those friendships and getting new friendships seem really difficult. I think, like you said, stage of life is a huge thing, because, you move from single to married to children. And like you said, it's not that you don't want to be with the people anymore, but you can't, because you got all these other responsibilities. So, so that's good. That's good. So people can be okay with, I'm busy now, I'm busy now, or my focus has shifted a little bit more where I have to be more attentive to what's right in front of me. Yeah. And if people really love you and care for you, then they'll understand that. They'll understand that you're not cutting me off. You're making room for me, and I appreciate you making room for me and keeping this a priority as best you can in your new environment, in your new circumstances. And I think that's a level of communication and maturity in communication that we sometimes forget. Because I know when I first got married, my girls was like, let's go. I'm like, I can't just go. I gotta think about this person over here. Yeah. And it's okay. Yeah. It's good. And if you lose some along the way, well, there'll be others. Yeah, that's true.
That's good. Like that. So how do you manage or exit a friendship when the person hasn't necessarily done anything wrong? You just no longer share their interests. So I guess this is the next step. If you beyond. Yes.
Right. You no longer share their interests. Then that warrants a conversation that goes something like this. I really used to enjoy doing A, B, and C, right? But now I'm finding I enjoy doing, C, D, and E a little bit more. What about you? What things do you enjoy doing more now than compared to what we used to do? Now you've opened the door for your friend, your even a boyfriend maybe, to share about those things that, I don't necessarily like doing that anymore. I want to do something new, or I want to, try this, or maybe I'll join you in trying that. It doesn't mean that you have to cut the person off. It just means that you have to have open conversation about doing new things, what that looks like. And if it looks like that person doesn't want to go with you, right, into where you want to go, it's okay. You may not be comfortable with it, because that may be your ride or die, right? Your ride or die is like, I can't go with you where you want to go. And so you have to reevaluate the importance of that person's placement in your life based on where you are going. Because at the end of the day, the person you have to rely on and be responsible for is yourself. You can't carry others where they don't want to go.
Yeah.
I know that when I became a Christian, I'll use that. This is a great example. There were several people in my friendship groups who were not Christians, and were confused about how I was, why I'm confused and wanted to know why I wasn't doing the things that I used to do. And so that, because I had love for these girls, they were my homies. They, like you said, you're ride or die. I'm like, well, Lord, do I cut them off? Because they don't have they're not at the same place in faith that I am, or do I continue to love them from afar where they are? And then when we get together, I try to live as an example as best I can, where as I'm growing, to maybe win them to you. And so that's an example of why I say I don't necessarily want to, I don't advocate for cutting people off unless they are rude and disrespectful. If they're rude and disrespectful, then now the gloves come off. I'm taking off my hoops, and we gonna have a conversation, right? Because that's not friendship, that's not love. So, but I wrestle with cutting people completely off, because I don't think that there's a place to cut people completely off, but maybe just put them to the side for a little bit.
Yeah. Do you believe that people are in your life for a season, though?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I wholeheartedly. And I've experienced that too, where in each of the moves, and I've moved around many a times, that people have come into my life for the sole purpose of helping me with my business, or sole purpose of helping me, navigate parenting better, sole purpose of being an example and a mentor and how to love my spouse better. And even though we're not in the same proximity anymore, if I were to call any of these people, because of that relationship we had during that season, they answered the phone.
Okay.
And that to me is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. See, I was thinking about negative relationships too. I think negative relationships can also be in your life for a season.
Absolutely.
So, Donecia, you and I have history, and I was just thinking about the same. I'm not going to call any names, but I could just remember
name.
but get the tea. And I can remember this one place that our families were a part of in Ohio, and the drama that we went through with the leadership there. I'm trying not to be too, but you get it. So they were in our lives for a moment, but the moment, it was a negative moment, but it taught us so much.
Yes, it did.
I mean, it taught us so much. I mean, we can look back. I mean, we were angry and hurt, and, it was just a lot of pain, dealing with what we had to deal with. But looking back, that relationship was in our lives for a reason.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think what people do sometimes, though, too, because we do want to hold on to those relationships, it would have been unhealthy for us to stay there. You know what I mean? As opposed to saying, okay, it's time to go.
Yes, we definitely need to sever ties.
Because somebody was about to get hurt real bad.
I mean, I was about to catch a case. I was like, y'all better head a bail money. I was gonna catch a case. Yes, I was. But the things that we have to remember, and as we talk about relationships, is that we are designed to be a social people. By nature, we are designed for each other, to be in community, to be in proximity with each other. And when that doesn't happen, it's like our lives are, I don't want to say empty, but they're definitely off balance.
Yeah.
Because we grow and learn so much from the good and bad of each other. So even in that negative example, as you shared, Betty, yes, it was hard, it was rough. And you're absolutely right. If we had continued to pursue trying to be reconcilers, if you will, in that relationship, it would have been to the detriment of ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of knowing when to cut the tie and say, it was good while it lasted. Now I gotta move
good while, and you got to be, and sometimes you got to be brave to do that.
Yes.
Because you can look at what is considered benefits. Well, if we stay, then, we can still continue to do this. If we stay, we can still have this. And then some of those negative relationships, you just got to let them go.
Yes. As I said earlier, if it's abusive and disrespectful, let it go.
Yeah.
And I find clarity through those relationships too. Like I gain more clarity about myself and what I really want, because I can be a compromiser. Like I can be kind of like, oh, it's not abusive, but so it's okay, and kind of have like wobbly boundaries. And so it's funny because like the idea you talk about just as being fluid and not necessarily having to cut them off all the time, but maybe establishing some boundaries. That's something I've had to learn like in my latter years. Cause I used to think, oh, it's black or white. Either we get along or we don't. We like the same thing or we don't. It's, it's like, to have the conversation, like, I'm interested in this now and not that anymore. What do you feel about that? And it's okay if they're not, if we have to part ways, but still just starting with a boundary at least and understanding what you really want with someone. I'm still learning.
Yeah, that's huge. Like boundaries is huge. And what you're saying, you may not have to like cut them off, but you may have to establish some boundaries. Like, you can be my friend, but you're not gonna hit me anymore, or I'm not gonna give you $20 every time I see you, or no, you can't use whatever it is, just establishing the boundaries. Doesn't mean I cut you off, but that takes courage to do, especially if you've been a type of person, who just be like, okay, because you want to be this nice girl, you want to make sure everybody's happy, and don't ruffle any feathers, and setting boundaries is big. I'm telling you, setting boundaries will save your life.
Yes, it will.
It'll save your finances. It'll save everything. No, you cannot live here. It'll save you.
Right.
We can still be friends, but you can't live here.
Right.
True story.
Okay. So our next question, how do you cope when you're on the other end of that? Like when your friend seems to have changed on you and doesn't seem to share interest with you anymore. So you're in a again.
Man, well, my friend has changed. I'm kind of a direct person. I'm introverted but direct at the same time. So I guess my initial move would be, I'll be like, what's up with that? I'm going to ask you straight out, what's up with that? And for my introverted friends, I would encourage them to, put on their big girl shoes, put on the high heels and say, hey, I noticed something different about you, and different not meaning bad, but just different about you that, we seem to be on different pages. Let's talk more about that.
So what does that mean? Like if you text them, they're not texting you back, or if you call, they're not calling you back. What do you mean?
Well, see, if they're not texting you or calling you back. Yeah, that's something's definitely wrong. So that's when you pick up the phone and you say, hey, can we get together? Because I've texted you, I've called you, and I feel like you're curbing me and I don't know why. What did I do? And it requires you to, again, to be brave, as you said earlier, Betty, to be vulnerable. And that's a very uncomfortable place for people who don't like conflict. So, but in order for you to get past it, you're going to have to engage in it a little bit and have that hard conversation, because otherwise you don't know what you did. There could have been something that you said or done to push that person away, and you have no idea because you're sitting back saying, oh, I hope I didn't, or maybe I did, and waiting for them to call you. No, you got to pick up the phone. If it means that much to you, if the relationship means that much to you, then you have to engage in it. You have to ask the hard questions. No matter what the outcome. You can't control what the person's going to say. You only can control and be responsible for what comes out your mouth, what you say. So, I mean, if you start the conversation, hey, did I do something to offend you? I haven't heard from you in a while. I noticed that the last couple of times I called or text you, I don't want to say I'm a stalker, but it was 10 times 2 weeks ago. You didn't respond back. Are you okay? Are we okay? And if we're not okay, let's work on it.
Yeah. I was just thinking of something that Roxanne said to me recently, because I am so like this. I'm just like, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I won't talk about the context of it, but she said, basically, we need to be honest with each other. Always. You got to be honest. And to me, calling someone who hasn't called you back after 10 times or text you back or whatever, to be honest, like I felt, and describe how you felt. I feel like when you don't call me back that maybe I did something wrong, or maybe, I don't know how you say, come on, coach, what would you say?
Like I said, I've tried to reach out to you a couple of times and I haven't heard from you. What's going on? What's new in your life? How can I pray for you? Is there something we should talk about? When can we get together?
What if they bring up something that's just like, well, when I was walking in the hallway, you didn't say hi to me. Or, something dumb like that. When I saw you at 7-Eleven.
Girl, I saw you at the mall. You was with Quisha. You was with Quisha and them. You act like you couldn't talk to me.
I'm like, what are we in junior high school?
That part. Seriously though, that part. But there are some people who, because of their personal life experiences, there's some insecurity, right? And so when they don't hear from people who they feel close to or closest to, they start to feel some type of way. And so we have to also keep that in mind. But if it's a person you've known for a long period of time, you should be able to, I say that carefully, you should be able to have a conversation about, what's up. But if it's a person you've only known for, let's say, 3 months, you're still getting to know that person. You don't know all their quirks, their tics, their stress, their drama, their childhood issues. There's a whole laundry list of stuff that you have to sift through. So, let's not be so self-consumed that it's about us. It might be all about them.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm an introvert. Because look at all the stuff you got.
That is why you're an introvert?
That is not why.
I'm going to have 2 friends. That's it.
That is not why. Betty's an introvert because Betty don't want to be bothered.
Oh my God. I'm terrible. I'm trying to do better.
I'm over here like, whoa, I made the cut. All right.
Right? Me too.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to do better.
Now, a delicious word. Let's chew.
Hey, it's Carla, aka Home Cook K, and today I'm back in my humble kitchen with a recipe that gets mixed reviews in my household, but I'm a fan, so I'm sharing it here. You definitely have to enjoy the flavors to like this recipe. Honey Sriracha meatballs. I use ground turkey, but I imagine you can substitute it with another ground meat or even a meat substitute. So, for the recipe, I first started by preheating my oven to 375. Then in a bowl, I combine the ground turkey, 1 cup of panko breadcrumbs, 2 eggs, a 1/4 cup of chopped onion, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper. I used my hands to combine all the ingredients and then created 1.5-inch meatballs. I had about 25, but depending on how much meat you use, you'll have about 20 to 40. I use parchment paper to line my baking sheet, but you can lightly spray it with cooking oil and then put the meatballs directly onto the sheet. Bake it in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. While the meatballs are cooking, I make the sauce. Using a small saucepan, I add a 1/4 cup of sriracha, 3 tablespoons of liquid aminos, you can use soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 3 tablespoons of honey, a tablespoon of freshly grated ginger, 3 cloves of garlic, half a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. I bring all the ingredients to a boil while whisking continuously. Then I reduce it to a simmer and cook for about another 8 minutes. Once the meatballs are done, I throw them into the sauce, tossing them around, and they're ready to serve. This dish pairs nice with rice. I use cauliflower rice, but brown rice or white rice works just as well. I'm curious to know what you think about this recipe. Try it and let us know your thoughts on IG or Facebook at Chat and Chew Show. Hope you enjoy it.
What are signs that a platonic relationship is toxic? So, I'm actually, because I think we already put out there that abuse, so like any type of like physical abuse, right, and disrespect. But what's like some of the more subtle things? 'Cause I think we all kind of know, like if they punch me in the face, over and over,
It's over.
But some things are more subtle. Like, what are some other things that can give us signs that it's toxic?
I always go straight for the jugular. So like if the person is disrespectful, right? You can't, every time, you say something that has something negative to say about you, toxic. If every time, if you're in a relationship, with your partner and the partner wants to criticize how you do dishes every single time you do dishes, that could be toxic. If the person wants to criticize how you drive and you haven't had any tickets, you haven't had any accidents, but they just don't like the way you drive too slow, toxic. If the person is constantly talking about how you parent your kid and doesn't give you any encouragement, that could be toxic. So my question is, if you're around this person and all they spit out to you is negativity, what other signs do you need to know that it's toxic?
Okay, I like
You want to be in relationships that
Get what I just said.
you want to be in relationships, friends, siblings, homies, partners. You want to be in relationships that are uplifting, empowering, helping you to grow, so that you and the unit that you're a part of becomes better together, not toxic and depressed and isolated and confused. And you're constantly questioning, am I enough? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I strong enough? Am I a good parent? Am I a good wife? Am I a good sister? Am I a good daughter? Am I a good son? If you have to constantly question that, there's a problem that needs to be addressed.
Wow.
I understand that people should pay attention to if people are giving that negative feedback and everything all the time. But what if you are used to that, right? Because like some of us are like used to that feedback, or we have our own insecurities, and it's kind of like, oh, maybe he's right, or maybe she's right, and it kind of it validates some of the self-talk you have going on in your head. How do you kind of snap out of that?
Yes. So unfortunately, in situations like that, it has been my experience in coaching that sometimes it takes something harsh, very hurtful, in order for that person to snap out of it, because they come from a system and a history of abuse, of verbal abuse. And so they become conditioned to it, and they normalize it. So unfortunately, usually for them to realize, oh my gosh, this has been happening since I was 9. It takes something pretty big, significant. And then they have to definitely work and process a healing process through that.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, I just needed a moment to take that in. I always need a moment on to ask the coach. Like I can't like bounce back.
And let me give you my disclaimer. I am a coach. I'm not a counselor. And if I find that a question is beyond my scope, I was like, girl, you need a counselor.
It works. That works.
I stay in my lane.
I know that.
Well, some people need to be told that they need a counselor. Like some people
absolutely.
need to cross their mind to even do that. It's like, it's so normal, the stuff that they deal with, and they don't even think they need some professional help.
Yes, and I'm quick to tell them.
They ain't trying to get sued.
No, ma'am.
It's so interesting. Like when you grow up in your home, whatever is done in your home, you think it's normal. Like in your home, as soon as you get out of bed, you make up your bed, then you think everybody does that, or if you eat breakfast or whatever you do, whatever you've seen done in your home since childhood, then you go out to the world and you're like, oh, you don't have to make up your bed? You don't, And I think it's the same thing with what you're saying. Like if you are in a toxic environment growing up, if that's all you know, then that's how you function. So if you have a conflict, the way you dealt with conflict based on what you in your home, if everybody just started yelling at everybody and cussing everybody out and talking about your mama, then you get in a relationship and that's what you're used to. And I find sometimes people, they will try to push a button to make their friend, partner, whoever react that way because that's comfortable, that's normal. When we fight, we're supposed to yell. When we fight, we're supposed to hit and push and storm off. So until somebody tells you you don't have to function that way, then you be like, oh, so you mean I don't have to be in a relationship where my husband always telling me or my friend I'm stupid? You know what I mean? But if that's what then sometimes I guess my point is that sometimes it takes someone else saying, you don't have to deal with that, right? you need counseling, right? It takes somebody else sometimes to be able to tell you that.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Indeed, that's good.
It's so true. So our final question, and this is on the positive side because we know what not to accept. So as an adult, like as you're managing your family or career or whatever, what should we look for in a friendship? Because I get that mixed up myself.
The question is not necessarily what you should look for in a friendship, is what do you look for in what do you look at in yourself? When you look in the mirror, who do you see? So as you look in the mirror, do you see someone who's smart, intelligent, funny, high energy, ready to attack the world? then maybe you want to be around people who are like that. You know, if you look in the mirror and you see someone who's down and sad and has, you know, low self-esteem, is that what you want? So what qualities do you want in a friend is my question. That's what you should look for. If you want someone who, like I said, is going to empower you, who's going to have your back when the chips go down, who can, you know, if you're sad, you can pick up the phone and call them and they'll pick you up and encourage you. Those are the type of friends I want. Someone who's strong in their beliefs and, you know, is not wavering in their faith, or someone who has strong family values. What do you want in a friend? Because what you look in the mirror, what you see in the mirror is typically what you reflect, what you draw.
Mm-hmm.
So check the mirror and then check your list and go make some friends.
So in the age of this pandemic, Donecia, how in the world are we going to do this?
I know it is the question of 2020. How do we make friends? How do we build fellowship and community when we're isolated? As I said earlier, we are designed to be social beings. We are designed for each other. We're better together. And in order for us to be better together, even in this virtual space, we have to be a little bit more vulnerable. And so there's some creative ways to meet people, even in a COVID. There are apps out there. Now for my single people, just bear with me a minute. But for, you know, if you're looking to get together and you want to learn how to knit, there's a group out there virtually teaching people how to knit via Zoom. One of the apps that I gravitated to even before coronavirus was the Meetup app. Meetup, 2 words, yeah. Meetup app. And then that app, you can search for groups in your community, right, that are doing all kinds of stuff. So I found a walking group. I found a Zumba group. I found the Bay Area Divas group.
Wow.
And it would, I love that group, because that's the group that we went to the Essence Festival for their 25th anniversary, and we had a ball. Women strangers I had known nothing about. They organized a trip. I said, I'm gonna do it, step out my comfort zone, because remember, I'm an introvert, but I'm direct. And I did it, and I had a blast. And these ladies, we still talk to this day. Even though I now live outside the Bay Area, we still talk. So that's an example of a social group where you can meet people doing the things that you already like to do, right? The other thing is, if you have a social group already, if you have a group of friends who are in proximity to you, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, we can isolate together. We can make sure that every 14 days we're intentional about ourselves and our time as friends, and we're going to separate from the other parts of the world, keep ourselves healthy, and on day 14, 15, we're going to get together and do something fun like we always used to do. So that's once a month. You can still connect with your people in proximity. There's nothing limiting. There's nothing stopping you from that. The government can't tell you who you can have in your house and who you can't.
That's true.
Right? You know, our phobias are what are holding us back. Even in church, even in our virtual space when people have church online, you can still, again, same concept. You isolate for a little bit. Okay, once a month, I'm gonna do brunch at my house and invite 6 people over. Why? Because we've all been doing this. This is our commitment to each other, to our relationship, to continue to grow and be in community together. Okay, now for my singles, because this is a source of tension for my single friends. They're trying to figure out, how do I meet someone during this COVID-19 process? I mean, what do I do? Well, you know, there's an app for that too. If you really want to meet someone and get to know people, and you're willing to be a little bit vulnerable, you can meet people through various apps. And I'm not plugging these apps. I don't know much about them, but I've heard great things from a few people who have had great success. Bumble is a female-initiated app where you can choose who you want to go and talk to. And you initiate the contact. Remember, like Sadie Hawkins back in the day when y'all had a Sadie Hawkins? I know y'all had a Sadie Hawkins. Don't play like y'all didn't have a Sadie Hawkins. Y'all had Sadie Hawkins. Roxanne.
Well, no, let me say, I went to a private school and we didn't have dances.
That's a shame. You missed out. But it ain't too late, girl. It ain't too late. So it's just that initiative where the ladies take the initiative to, you know, they have a whole list and they can swipe and pick and choose who they want to start having a conversation with. And it doesn't have to be anything, too extreme, but it's a way to meet people. That's one example. Or Tinder, or, eharmony.com, whatever it is you're looking for, there's an app for that. All I'm trying to say is that in this new normal, we have to get creative about being intentional about building community, because we are not designed to live life in isolation. Right. We are social and communal beings. And so we owe it to ourselves to be better together.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well, this was fantastic. As always, we love when Ask the Coach, Coach Donecia is with us. Woo-hoo! So Chat and Choose Show, again, is designed to empower you to do relationships better. And every Tuesday, we have a new episode. So I invite you to go over to YouTube. You're probably already there because you're watching this. And subscribe and hit that subscribe bell so that every time our episode comes out, then you can catch up on everything that's going on. Donecia, do you want to tell everybody where they can follow you?
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, ladies, for having me. Again, you can follow the coach, Ask the Coach. You can follow me on IG at Coach Donecia, on Facebook at Donecia Norwood-Smith. That's Donecia Norwood-Smith. Thanks.
Right. I thought you were about to start rapping for a little bit.
I have many skills. That is not one.
Cool. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you next week.
Bye.
This show was brought to you by the Chat and Chew Company. Music by Elwood Jones. Lyrics by Roxanne. Bring a Chat and Chew live event to your organization. Contact us at chatandchewshow@gmail.com.